my missus is so like involved in it now. She knows that like for me to get the best out of my fighting, like I need to go away and just detach, because like trying to be a fighter and a dad at the same time is so difficult. It's like you're trying to be killer in the gym and you're coming home, you're like, hiya.
It must be. I wouldn't even want to imagine what that's like.
Yeah.
But let's get into it. I reckon where I want to start with this, right? So you and I have known each other a long time.
Yep.
We go back now probably 13 or 14 years ago. I think we probably first met each other. So we played rugby together, and now obviously you're doing something completely different. But my memories of you at the start when we first met each other, you were always a smaller guy. I reckon you were a wee bit heavier than you are just now. You're obviously cut and very lean at the moment, but you would probably have been about 80 kilos or something at Stirling County under 16s, under 18s. And the one thing that I remember about you is whenever we played a contact game, right, you know, you get split into two teams and you'd have a captain and a captain, and each captain would pick somebody, and before you know it, there was nobody left. You were always the one that got picked first or second when it was a contact game, because you were hard as fuck. That was the honest truth of it.
Probably my kryptonite as well, though. It's that was. I've always been like that. Always been like I never was an eyes up rugby player. I never like you guys. You know where it hits space, and I kind of put that down to like now that I'm in MMA, the consequences of like not making a good decision is far greater.
Oh God,
you know. So when I played rugby, I was always looking for a nice big tackle. And I was like so sub-focused on like one thing at a time. So like I want to hit that guy, I want to hit that guy, I want to hit that guy. And then that made me a shitter rugby player, because you need to be good at seeing where the ball's going, space, passing it, when to pass, when not to pass. So when I moved away from rugby, I think the consequences, like I'm leaving the gym. Like, there's been plenty of times I can put my hand in my heart and say that I've plenty of times I left the gym and I've been crying, upset, because like getting beaten up is quite a difficult thing. So the consequences make you really sit in your bed and think, and it's like as you go through fighting and through your career, you start thinking it's like it's not a tough man sport, it's like a smart man sport. So I've managed to find my way, and I wish I don't wish, but I wish I was a bit better at rugby, and I always strive to be good at sport, and I just wasn't quite good enough for rugby. So that's probably my kryptonite when it came to rugby, you know, because I would have loved to play for Scotland, you know, that was the dream when I was that age. But yeah, exactly, yeah, of course, but I was only good at one thing, and you can't be good at one thing, you know, you need to be good at all.
No, you were hard as nails. I remember some of the tackles that you used to do. And obviously, when you're fighting, you know, you do those takedowns and that, and it's the exact same way I remember you doing it when you were playing rugby.
Yeah.
You were tough as nails. You weren't by nowhere, you know, the biggest guy. You weren't the biggest guy out there, but you were hard as nails, and that was something I always remembered. And it's been just amazing to follow your journey into fighting. You know, I remember going back even probably 6 or 7 years ago now, when you were just starting to take those initial steps and starting to fight more. We were exchanging a few messages on Instagram, whether it was to do with whatever, you know,
just back and forth.
But it's been amazing to follow your journey, and I'm pumped that we've managed to get you on here today. But going further back from that, let's start. I'm keen to just dig into your sort of you as a kid. You know, you played rugby. You always had that kind of aggressive streak about you, but what shaped that? Like, what was your upbringing like? What was it that really sort of what stands out to you from your sort of childhood that shaped you?
I couldn't like really pinpoint one thing that shaped me, but there's been obviously a lot of events coming from being a young boy. So obviously my mum and dad, I never lived with them when I was younger. Obviously put into care for a little bit. My mum and dad struggle with addiction, so I had a really bad upbringing, like given no food and just a tough go. So my brother and sister, they went into care. I went to my grandparents' house, so we always stuck together obviously, but they couldn't all go at my grand's, and we couldn't all go into care, so they stayed together because they were closer in age. So when they were in care and I got to go to my grandparents' house, I got to realise that I had absolutely nothing at my mum's, but I got absolutely everything at my grand's, because my gran loved me to death. She wanted the best of me, and she realised I was a good kid, that all I wanted to do was do well and please people. So I got the best of both worlds. So I always thought to myself, like, I don't actually need all these expensive things. And so I was more like wanting to go outside and get knives and carve trees and just have a bit of fun. So I got the best of both worlds, which I think's maybe shaped me into a bit of a different individual when it comes to, because I know when to be nasty and I know when to be, so I can like take both edges of the sword. I feel that's like, obviously I know what trauma and all that looks like, because I've got so many stories that I can remember as a young kid that stick with you like really, really heavily. But definitely feeling the love on the other end from my grandparents. Obviously my mum and dad still love me, but it was just a tougher upbringing, born in Glasgow and all that sort of stuff. But I felt that helped me get that nasty streak. I know how to stick up for myself, and like I never liked to get bullied at school. I was never really bullied at school because obviously you said that everybody's like, oh, he's hard. You know, I wasn't the most popular at school. I used to hang about with popular people. Like I used to like hanging about with them, but they always knew me as like, oh, Chris doesn't fuck about. Like he'll just fight you. So I feel that kind of shaped me. And then it just kind of gave me a drive. And I feel like I'm pretty, when it comes to like something, I need to be focused on something at one time, because I feel like I like to, well, I say I do bad things, like I'll go out drinking and just do stuff that's fun. Whereas if I'm focused on something, I don't need to do that because I'm enjoying what's in the moment. So I think I put my energy towards fitness and things that I get a reward from, rather than getting a hangover, if that made sense. But yeah,
you strike me, well, obviously to develop your career like you have to be extremely disciplined. And that's a trait that you have. Back to your school days, did you have many dust-ups in the playground? Was that something that happened often?
Yeah, so like my first couple of days at school, I always remember I was in high school, and I remember like gearing myself up the next day. I was like, this guy isn't the boss, he keeps winding me up, and I told myself, I was like, if he touches me, it's on. So he booted me in the balls when we were on the bus. I said to him, I remember his name, Jordan, I was like, mate, AstroTurf, 12 o'clock, you're fucking getting it. So we met up in AstroTurf. I remember they always used to take a piss at me because I had Kappa trainers on. I was walking and they were laughing at my trainers and that, and I went in and opened the big fence up, and he's walking towards me, and I just leathered him, and then his sister, like, he had an older sister, she was in like 6-year Alana. I'm at the head office, got in trouble because I fucking licked him, like it was terrible. And then I'm standing at the office waiting to get told off, and here she comes flying in. I was like, oh fuck. She starts leathering me. I'm like lying in the couch, like getting leathered off his wife, and she's kicking me. I was like, fuck's sake. But I had many dust ups at school, like, but only to the certain, like, folk were starting nipping me, and it was just like, I would just snap, I would never go out my way to do something nasty to somebody, but I certainly could gee it when I need it.
Yeah, I guess when you get provoked at that age, like you don't really know what you have inside you until it happens for the first time, and then you get into that state. But like, when was the first time you realised that you could fight?
I don't know. I would be out. I've always had that in me. Like, I always fought when, like, see, with my brother and my sister, and you know, I think being upbringing like that, you know, my mum and dad used to fight each other, not like, it was horrible to think about it, but like I was never like, I was accustomed to it. I could see it happening, and I think having a younger brother always helps, you know, because you're always fucking ragging him about and he's ragging you about. So I think a lot of it to do with a little bit of confidence as well, because I've listened to a couple of your podcasts as well, like thinking about not being confident when you walk out into the rugby park and stuff like that can give you a negative energy walking into something. So you've kind of got to have that confidence, even if it is fake, if it's sitting in the back, you know, you're going to get good posture, peacocking a little bit, and then going out there, and that other guy's like, fuck, this guy's pretty confident, So that's always a big thing in the back of my mind, just kind of peacock my chest a little bit and make myself look hard.
It's so interesting. I remember some of the fights that I got in school, and it's like fighting in the playground is a great way to bring out some of the like most intense emotions. Like you've fought so many times now that I'm sure you're so used to the feelings that come up when you get into like an altercation, but it makes you feel seriously uncomfortable. Like, one of normally two things will happen when you get into a fight at school. You run off crying, or you'll just lose the head and just lamp the shit out of somebody.
It's 50-50, somebody's got to win, I don't know if this was you maybe, but I always remember we were going away I can't even remember, maybe going to Elgin or something like that. And did you not whack somebody at school and break your knuckle?
I might have.
Or your hand?
I might have.
Maybe it wasn't yours, maybe Colin or something like that, but I'm sure it was one of the big lads.
Coco, maybe.
Maybe.
Probably more likely him than
or did
me.
you not punch somebody and fracture their eye or something?
There's been a couple of incidents over the years that I've had to learn the hard way from, but
aye.
you know, you don't know your strength.
Well,
to some
especially
degree when you're younger,
rugby, you know,
you're in the gym at 14, 15-year-old. It's even younger now, but
well, I always remember you used to push big weight, and obviously I was a lot smaller than you, but I always remember you, Colin, Big Sinky, and that used to always just pump out big weight. I'm like, Jesus Christ, you know what I mean? And then, well, you're only 15 and you're fucking throwing about 80 kilos. That's a lot of weight, you know what I mean?
I know, and it's dangerous. Like, there was definitely a realisation on my behalf that was like, well, you can't be getting in fights. Like, you can't be fighting people, because at the end of the day, you're training to be a professional athlete and other people aren't. And the effect that you can have on them is extremely dangerous. So that was a big realisation for me. And after that, I really sort of stopped any of that stuff. And I guess, you know, rugby was great because it was a means to get aggression out and to sort of, I guess express that side of myself. But for you, so we finished up, I think the last time that I probably played rugby with you was probably at Stirling County Under-18s.
Yep.
What happened in the next couple of years from there, and when did fighting start to become the sort of driving force for you?
So there was a big thing for rugby. For me, was huge. I used to love it. I was really engrossed in it. So it was when I think when they were getting picked for Cali or something for the Under-18s, and I didn't get picked. So my gran gave me almost like an ultimatum. She's like, listen, if you're not getting picked, like, what are you going to do? Like, I know you want to take this as a career, but you know, you not get picked, what are you going to do for your summer holidays, blah blah blah. So I didn't get picked, and then I got myself into agricultural college because I was working on a farm back then. So I was kind of like not forced into it, I was like ready to do it. And I was like, right, I'll go and do that. Then Rayner had hurt his foot because he got picked above me, so he hurt his foot or something like that, or hurt his Achilles. And they were like, Chris, can you come play? And I'm like, I can't, I'm away to agricultural college. I'm like, I'm going to do that. So I did that for a year, and then I was a wee bit fat, drinking. I was like, I need to get myself fit for rugby again. So exactly, scooping. And so I thought, when I came back from that, I'm like, right, I'm going to have another crack at this, because I now can drive. I can now travel myself back and forth. So I'll go to the kickboxing class, get fit, lose a bit of weight, and then I'll jump in and I'll be fit. I'll get in the pre-season and I'll be like, boom. And then I got into fighting, and then I started to enjoy it, and I was like, I'm quite good at this. And then I started battering folk that were like way better than me, supposedly, just out of pure aggression and just being tough as nails a wee bit. And then it's really kind of snowballed from there. Moving into MMA, MMA was more a kind of a fashion thing for me. I don't know if you want to delve into it, but the reason why I left rugby and all that and farming, because I was very involved in farming, and I was like, that was going to be my career. And I got to a point where I was like, I couldn't go any higher. I needed to own a farm, and I was like, that's never going to happen at the age of 18, 19. So I was like, what do I do? And then unfortunately my mum passed away, and I was like, it was like all of a sudden I was like, fuck. I was like, this is shite. And then, you know, you're going to give yourself a wee strop. And I was like, Ken, what? I'm going to go do something I actually like. And I was rugby, lifting weights, going to the gym and keeping fit and doing kickboxing. I was like, do you know what? I'm going to go be a PT. So it was almost like an epiphany. I was like, Ken, what? I'm going to go do what I want to do and enjoy my life. So I was like, straight into the gym. And then I was like, oh, MMA's in here. I'll try that. That looks good. And then as from now on, it's just started rolling. So it's like that's all fucking. I feel like it was kind of destined for me in a sense, because I was always good at fighting. But like doing what you love is like, it's easy. You don't need to get the drive and the what's the word I'm looking for?
You don't need to find motivation.
No,
you just love it.
You just do it. It's good fun.
Yeah,
smacking your pals and having a crack, you know. So, and it kept me off the drink, and it kept me from doing stupid stuff. So that's why I really delved into it.
Can you remember I mean, it's a similar question to fighting in the schoolyard, but like, was there a moment that you found yourself in training or sparring that you thought, this is what I want to do? Was there anything that sort of just in your head was like, that's the thing, like?
So, not particularly. And what I said to you, I really, really liked the fact that I was good at sport. And I was like, I'm liking this now. I'm getting good at this. I understand it. And then you were saying about mindset in some of your podcasts and stuff like that as well. Like I got to a point where I was getting quite good at it, and I was trying to figure out other ways to get better at MMA. And I thought to myself, you know what, I could maybe try and get to the UFC. And I'm thinking to myself, like, can I make it? I was like, maybe I started to MMA when I was 21. I'm now 30, so I was like, could I? So I just kept my head down and just focused on it, and then I became pro. And then when I became pro, I was like, in 2019, I was like, right, I need to get my mindset right now. So I read on my phone, I was like, I will be in the UFC. It's not a matter of fact, and it's not a matter of chance, it's a matter of fact, and it's in my phone. And I had it's like 2019 on the date and all that, and I put it on my Instagram a while ago, and that from then I was like super focused to like get to the UFC. That was the thing. Deep down, you know how these people are all like, I'm going to make it to the UFC, I'm going to be UFC champion, and blah, blah, like trying to like throw out all this really positive energy, whereas I'm a bit like, do the work, and if it comes, it comes, and write down and keep it to yourself. Because like, you know, obviously there has to be an element of confidence, but there's too much, I think.
Yeah.
And I didn't actually maybe think, I was like, I don't think I could maybe make it to this year. Maybe I can. Ken what? I maybe can. And then they'll be like, I have 2 good days and then 2 bad days. I'm like, fuck, I'm not going to be able to make it. But then I'm here. So like, who's to say I can't be UFC champion one day? Because back then I maybe wasn't eligible for the UFC, but now I am. So there's always a chance of that, you know?
Yeah, no, I totally resonate with that. I think you see these people online and like, they tend to be Americans, but you know, they're pumping themselves up. They're adamant that they have this thing inside. They know that they're going to make it. I don't relate to that. I managed to go reasonably far in my own rugby career in sport. You've done the same, but it's not. There wasn't this like absolute knowing within myself that I was just going to go where I went. No. It was like it was more neutral. It's like, well, maybe I could, maybe I couldn't. Like it's, and I just don't know. Like I feel like it's arrogance and it's misunderstanding when people get caught up in that like hype beast thing. You know, you can see right through it. And
it's just like TikTok and social media all these days. It's just like so fake. But I do think doing positive things each and every single day, like make it a positive thing. Like, all right, if I do that, it's getting me one step closer, and if I do that, it's getting me another step closer. It's like a wee building block all the way up to the top, rather than there was a quote I heard a wee while ago. It was like, you don't get confidence from shouting affirmations in the mirror. You get doing it day in, day out, every single day. Because it's like, if you're really focused on your sport and just getting in about it, like you can only be going up. You can't just be turning up to the gym and like not getting any better. It's just, you're really positively getting better every single day. You eat well, you're on time, shit like that. That stuff really, really adds up. People don't think about it because they don't get the instant you're in the UFC, but it's so important, and like that consistency thing.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's like, it has to be process driven, doesn't it? Like that's where the confidence comes from. It doesn't come from just like thinking that you're the man. It builds up over time, and it's like a train. Once it gets momentum, it keeps getting faster and faster, and then before you know it, you just feel like you're ready to go and you're ready to achieve.
That's what happened to me with the UFC. It was like, I wasn't in the UFC, and I'm like, fucking hell, I'm in the UFC now.
I know, let's talk about that.
Pinch.
I know, it is actually mind blowing. You know, like I remember it'd been 2020, that'd have been, wasn't it? It was just towards
when you came,
the end of that. So like, I remember seeing all this hype sort of building up online surrounding you and your career and where you were going. And I thought it was fucking brilliant. And then I happened to be in the US at the time where you were over there.
Yep.
And you were fighting in Dana White's Contender Series for the first time. Managed to come along and watch it. Unbelievable experience. Me and Elisa were probably 2 of only fucking 20 people that were there because it was during COVID. But what an experience we had there. You sorted us out with the tickets. Thank you so much. I'll always remember that. It was amazing. Luckily, nobody else could travel there, so we were the only ones that could get them.
VIP seats.
It was an amazing experience. Like, Talk to us about that build up to heading over there, what happened, and then sort of subsequently what happened off the back of that, and how you actually got your UFC deal.
So there's a big story to this. So it's quite an epic journey. Yeah. So so I got the news of the Contender Series, all good, ready to go. I was meant to fight a guy called Manuel Gatsa. He's a guy from the Netherlands. So I had a funny feeling about this guy. I don't know why. And I was like, to be honest, in the back of my mind, I thought he was shit. He was shit. And I was like, this is going to be a breeze. Like, this is going to be... Still trained really hard. No stone left unturned. Got to the event, seen him. He arrived. I was like, fucking hell, he came. Jesus Christ. He got here, weighed in. I'm like waiting for him to weigh in. I'm like, fucking hell, it's taking ages. He's like... Manuel Gatsa weighed in 160 pounds. We're meant to weigh in 156. So he was 2 kilos over, 4 pounds. And I said to Sean Shelby, I'm like, listen, I'll fight him anyway. No matter. I'm here for me, not him. And I knew he was pish anyway. So I was like, and then so he's like, right, good. So we faced off, and he's like giving me all the attitude, and I just knew. I was like, he's getting it. Like, so I fueled up. I went from 70 kilos all the way up to 81 kilos. Full of sodium, full of carbs, feeling great. So I thought to me and my coach and my nutritionist, I said to him, like, let's go out, play a bit of basketball, let's get the digestion moving, get my stomach moving. Went out and I seen him walking past me. He was like all hunched over, bad posture. I was like, said to my coach, I was like, if he walks through like that tomorrow, he's in for a long night because I'm putting it on him. I went to my phone, picked up my fanny pack, and then here's my manager phoned me 5 times. I'm like, phoned him. He said he's out. He said he's got a stomach issue. So the UFC offered to take this guy to the hospital, but he wouldn't go. And then he booked his own flights and fucked off home.
He shot himself?
I think so. So I don't know what happened. So what? I did 10 weeks of training, and then they said, that's it, you're done. So I got to go to the event, and this is when I was supposed to be fighting on the Tuesday. So I got to the event, and I thought, like, I was done. I thought I wasn't going to get a fight. And then I'm sitting in probably close to where you were sitting, where Dana White was, and he got up to go to the toilet. And I was fucking scratching my chin. I was like, I'm going to grab him, fuck it. So I walked down, Dana. He's like, what is it? And I'm like, come here, I was meant to be fighting tonight. And he's like, what do you mean you were meant to be fighting tonight? I was like, my guy pulled out, he said he had a sore stomach. And he's like, what? He's like, come with me. So we went over to the matchmaker, and then so we sat down and we spoke. They stopped the whole event for it, and they were talking to me and the matchmaker, and the matchmaker says, Jane, you can make weight by Friday. So this was Tuesday. I'm 81 kilos, I need to make 70 kilos again. I was like, yeah, sure. And he's like, right, go for it. So we'll try and get you a match, we'll try. So I started water loading again. So I need to drink like 8 to 10 litres every single day for 4 days to flush myself out. Started no carbs again to get the weight down. And I phoned my manager on the Friday. I was like, right, am I going to jump in the sauna? Am I going to make this weight? I would have done it as well. And he's like, nah, they've not got you a match, buddy. We're going to get you a flight home. Really sorry. So then obviously I burst into tears. And I was like, you know what? There's nothing we can do. I've done everything I can. In-N-Out Burger. So we went to In-N-Out Burger, smashed the food.
It's the best.
Oh, mate. And then got up in the morning, walked over to the cafe that we're going to every day, and instead of having just eggs in the morning, I was like, do you know what? I want a wrap. I was like, I want an egg wrap, carbs. I was like, I was just about to put the egg wrap in my mouth, and I seen my manager phone me, and he's like, I've got some good news and I've got some bad news. And I was like, what's the bad news? He's like, I've got you another fight.
Oh, no.
He's like, I've got you good news. It's on the Contender Series. I'm like, oh my God. So I just had a newborn baby this time as well. So I'd left my missus at home. I was meant to be in the US for 10 days. I was nearly there for 4 weeks, waiting to get a fight. I think it was 3 weeks, 3 weeks. And he's like, can you make weight in 10 days time? I was like, yeah, fuck it. So there's a picture online I put up of me making weight, and did it professionally. A couple of guys missed weight that night, and we went out to fight. And to this day, I'm never blaming the weight cut for my performance, but like I said to you before, I feel my attitude was my own kryptonite. I thought I was just going to go in and steamroll this guy. I felt like because I hadn't lost and I was just going through steamrolling everybody else, I was going to do the same with this guy. So I was like, you know what, fuck it. hands up, walk forward, and I did not take a backward step that whole fight, and I just went for him. And when I went to set up a combination, misjudged it a little bit, and I got knocked out. So best thing that ever happened to me, to be honest. So when I lost that fight, I remember waking up on the floor, and I'm like, fuck, I've been knocked out, eh? So I got up, shook the boy's hand, went out the back, and then there was like a bit of a commotion out the back, and I was like, could see everything was going on, and Dana White and Sean Shelby stopped the show again, and they came through, and they're like, listen, Chris, you know, we understand what you've done, we really appreciate what you've done, that was one of the best fights we've had on this season, we're going to have you back. He's like, go away, enjoy your family. And I remember him saying my daughter's name. He's like, go and enjoy time with your girlfriend in summer, because I told him the story about what's happening. And he's like, go home, enjoy it, and we'll have you back. And then that kind of filled me with a little bit of confidence. So I was like, right, okay, I did good. I did myself proud. And I was happy with my performance, especially being knocked out, because there's no way I would if I got tapped out, I'd be like, tap. But I got knocked out. There's nothing I could have done. Nothing I could have done. That's me dead, presumably, you know. So I was like, right, good. So they said they'll have me back. So I travelled home. I wasn't really into eating food, and got home, and then nothing really changed back home. I was like, everybody still loved me. All my friends were still there. And I thought losing was going to be the worst thing ever. It wasn't too bad, especially because I got knocked out, and I got knocked out the way I would have liked to win out in a fight. So had another fight, won, and then I got the call again, and that's when I fought Charlie Campbell. So out of something terrible has come something good, you know, like doing all that work and showing the UFC and showing Dana White and Sean Shelby that I'm ready for that, I think got me in there much quicker. So between then and when I did my Contender Series fight again, it was like 6 months. It was like rapid, eh? So that was a really good and really positive moment for me, because I learned a lot about myself and what not to do, like cutting weight 3 or 4 times, you know. So that was massive. Like, and then obviously I got my shot again and had another barn burner, but at least I was on the winning opposite side of this time.
No, I remember the fight, man. I've never seen anything like it. Being so close to the ring or the cage and fucking seeing you go at it like that, that was fucking it was phenomenal, man. That was really eye-opening for the both of us. Like, Elisa and I still talk about it nowadays. We're like, that was fucking amazing. The opportunity to go and do that. What did you? How did you respond to the loss? Because, like, as you say, you could have went and done certain things, but like, how did you look at it? How did you frame it up in your mind?
So a couple of, like, right afterwards, I was a little bit like, you know, you've been doing all that dieting and stuff like that. You just want to go and eat shit food again. So I was a little bit cruel to myself. I was like, I got a Five Guys and like I ate half the burger. That's not like me. I love my food. So I started like treating myself a little bit differently, because I was disappointed in myself. And then see, by the time I got home and realised that all the people around about me were super proud of me, and like their perception of me never changed, kind of opened up. I was like, Ken, what? I did do well. And losing, and then like speaking to a couple of people as well, like losing like that wasn't a bad thing, you know, like doing everything I possibly could to get to the position I was in and then falling short is absolutely fine. Like, you never get guys that have like a complete clean record in MMA. So at the start I was tough on myself, and a couple of the guys and my training partners were trying to hold me back a wee bit, because obviously I was knocked out, so you need to be careful with concussions and stuff like that. So I took the recommended 90 days off from heavy contact. I did the protocol, the old boxing protocol, so light jogs and all that sort of stuff. And then as I started to build myself back into training again, I just got that unbeatable mindset again, and it was fine. But I can see how people go the opposite way, and I've kind of forgot about it now. And hopefully in the next couple of fights, I'll get that guy again. I would love to get a rematch with him, and if he beats me again. But I only did 1 weight cut. I'd be a bit more accepting to it, but because I did a couple, I feel like I had the kind of shorter end of the stick. So I'd love to get that one back. Like,
amazing. Talk to us about Dana White. Like, I'm interested to know what your perception is of him, and like, obviously you've got a pretty cool relationship with him based off what happened after that fight.
So with Dana White, it was kind of, that's the only kind of interaction I've had with him. Obviously, you see him at the weigh-ins and stuff from my fights, but with that, it really opened up my eyes that he's not just this mad promoter that makes loads and loads of money. And then hearing that and then doing a little bit of research on him myself, just thinking, he was actually pretty sound. He does a lot of good stuff for good people. The guy that was on the Contender Series after me, Joe Pfeiffer, he was homeless and he got a shot in the Contender Series, and he gave up all his money and his house to come fight on the Contender Series to try and make a break, and Dana White bought him a house.
Did he?
Madness. So like, he does a lot of good things for a lot of good people, and he's obviously, money talks, doesn't it? He's got the money to do so. So, but everybody scrutinises him for doing stupid stuff, or he maybe puts on a fight, and I don't know. That everybody's, what social media is like.
Everybody's got their own opinion.
Yeah. So like, he does a lot of good stuff, and I've been really looked after by the UFC so far. And I know everybody's shouting about money and stuff like that, and I'm quite happy where I'm at there now, and I'm quite happy to build myself up a ladder. But I think he's quite a special character when you get to know him. I don't know him personally, but I've heard a lot of cool stories about him.
Yeah, I have too. I've listened to a couple of podcasts recently with him speaking about stuff.
Yeah,
Theo Vaughn one he was on. He's fucking chiseled down as well. He's in good shape. He's really starting to like. He's
done like 72-hour fast, and I've done like a 2-day fast. That is solid, by the way.
Was it?
So like, doing a 72 that's incredible, eh? That's not right, but yeah, he's a special dude. Like, it's quite cool the way, like, coming from what he came to all the way now.
I know.
He's got impressive. Fuck you money. He's got money, eh?
He's built a true empire, and he's changed sport. He's changed the world of sport himself. Talk to us about your team. What does it look like at the moment? How's it changed over time? Like your coach and your sparring partners?
Yeah, so mainly now with obviously I treat this very professionally now. So I mainly take my camps over to American Top Team. In American Top Team, we probably have about 5 or 6 top 10 guys in there. So we've got Grant Dawson, there's Hineto Moicano, there's Thiago Moses, there's like 5 or 6 others, Arman, there's like Mateus Gamrot. They're all in my division, but they're all top. They're in the top 10. There's 5 of them. So it's like, I think I'm in the right room,
Yeah.
And when you go over to places like that, you really realise like why people go to that gym. And I'm always trying to find that a little bit better myself, like that niche. And definitely going there is definitely up my game massively. Every time I go there, I learn so much.
Where is it?
Miami. It's in Fort Lauderdale. Fort Lauderdale. Nice. Really nice area too. It's hot all the time. And the facility is run by a guy called Dan Lambert, who is for the fighter. And obviously he's made his money and he's opened up this gym. It's like buying a football team, like an American football team. He's kind of done that with MMA, and he's putting everything into MMA. So such a good guy, and I'm very fortunate to have those guys backing me. I just actually was texting Richie before I came here, and it's fantastic, like getting to go in there and train with Dustin Poirier, and that is second to none. And then like becoming friends with them, and it's great. It's like dreams come true, eh? That's what you would have been like when you went and started playing rugby, and that. It's like crazy seeing these guys. But I think when it goes to, the thing I'm going to struggle with the most going to the UFC is like when I know a guy, like I've seen him on TV, because I've fought guys that have like not really hit the top 10, because I see myself in the top 10. When it starts getting to like fighting people I've looked up to and watched, that's going to be a difficult mindset to deal with, like I'm like, oh, he's good, like you'll be the same playing with guys in the rugby park. You're like, he's scary, but you find out they're just men.
I know.
You find out they're just men. Like I've sparred them all now. I'm like, and it shouldn't be the same. Like the same. Sorry, it shouldn't be that fear because he's a celebrity.
I know. But I had the same thing many times. Like someone I'd looked up to in the rugby field, somebody that I idolised, and then I tackled them, and I was like, oh, it's just a normal human. Like it just feels the same as tackling anyone else.
Yeah,
I had that on multiple occasions. It is. It's like you build people up in your mind to be this like legend and this superhuman person, but the reality is that you find that you have the capabilities to deal with that because of the training you've done and and the people you fought before.
Exactly. Yeah, it's just almost because you're looking at TV and you're looking at or hype. YouTube or that. Yeah, the hype and the kind of stardom and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah. So is Adam Stevenson still coaching you?
No, he's not. No. So after when I moved to the UFC, he was there for my debut, and then just things have started to progress on, and we've just moved on from each other now. And I base my camps over an American top team, just full time.
Full time. So how does it look training wise at the moment? Will you go over there pre-fight, train, and then obviously the other time you've spent back here in Scotland?
So my coaches, obviously that's their full-time job over there, so I keep in contact with them back and forth, and they tell me what to work on. So they've given me some key points to work on when I'm being at home. And now that I get the chance to just chill and work on techniques with it doesn't really matter. You figure out things, there's no pressure on it. Because when you're in the field over there at rugby, when you're on the mat over there, it's like go time. It's like 100% all the time. You don't get chance to practice stuff. It's like these guys are like elite of the elite. You can't do stupid stuff in front of them. So it's good to practice on lower level guys when I'm here. And I'm terrible for sparring hard, so my coaches say to me tone it down a bit.
Could you not go as 100% or it's nothing?
I really struggle with that. So now they've given me some things to work on that I can say, right, this is what I can work on, and I still get a good grind out of it, but I'm not knocking my brains in.
Yeah. And you are now 2 fights into 4 fights that you signed in your contract.
Yep.
Talk to us about the first 2 fights and what happened recently, obviously, back in, was it October, November?
Yeah. So my first fight was against Omar Morales. That training camp was a tough one for me. I went over there, prepared, on weight, ahead of schedule. Fucking tore the MTFL in my ankle just with a stupid accident. It was just so stupid. And I had to recover. I was off my feet for 2 weeks solid, so I didn't get to train for 2 weeks. And then I got back to training really slowly, so it was a week I was kind of doing a wee bit. And then there was a lot of pressure involved in my first fight because I was just won off the Contender Series. There was film crew following me about my training. They were in the gym. It was pretty scary. So when I got to the fight, and then I walked out. I'd been obviously in COVID. I'd not been out to fans before. So I was fighting in COVID in the Apex in Italy when I fought in Bellator, and there was no fans. I walked out to 20,000 people. I was like, fuck, I could just hear them all. Scotland. I was like, fuck.
That must have been special.
Hell, it was really good. It obviously got my fingers and my face tingling, and I was just ready to go. But yeah, there was a lot of pressure on that, and I made a bit of a balls up of that fight. But I wrestled and I got the victory. It wasn't the performance I would like, but the money went to my bank, which is the most important part, because obviously fighter pay is really important for us, because if we lose, our money gets cut in half. So it's a show money and win money. So if I show up and lose, I get my show money, but if I win, I get double. So it's really, really important. It's an incentive.
Yeah.
So I got the win, went home, and then I got the fight with Yanal Ashmus. So I went back to America again. A shorter camp, which I think's better, because I'm not knocked in, I'm not getting injured, and so I did a 7 to 8 week camp there. And there was one thing I remember my coach Mike Brown said to me, because in my Instagram I was always putting, I'm going to get 50 grand bonus, I'm going to have fight of the night, and he said to me before I left, he's like, we don't do fight of the nights in this gym. He says we do absolute clinics. He's like, go over there and outclass this guy. So I went over there to London, same thing, everything was super familiar again, walked out in front of 20,000 people. I was actually taking it in this time. It's I could see everybody. I was like, this is great. Went out and I absolutely put on a clinic, broke his arm in the first round, and then he had nothing for me. I was having fun. And then it was a bit of a surreal experience, because then now I'm 2-0 in the UFC, and it's super difficult for people. There's a figure that's online at the moment. It's 80 to 90% of the UFC fighters always lose their first UFC bout because of pressure. And I haven't. I've won the first 2, so I'm in really good stead. So I'm just looking forward to the future. It's been been a wicked ride so far. Like,
it's amazing. What's so like that second fight you had there? Did you find that you were able to just sort of get into the flow and have a bit of fun? You can see when you watch fights on TV that there's sometimes occasions where fighters can just get into it and they're having fun and they're maybe talking a bit of shit. And was it a case of that? Was it?
Yeah, there was a lot of things that went right for me too. Like the weight cut went well. Biggest weight cut I ever done. I was actually scared before it. I was like, Christ, what's going to happen here? Best weight cut I done. It came off like rapid. Fueled up really well. Felt great. And my opponent was like super respectful. We spoke. We said some things back and forth. It made me feel at ease. I'm looking forward to when somebody starts fucking going at me as well. I'm looking forward to that because I think that's going to bring out the better in me, But it was good. And like I remember when I was sparring with Dustin when I was in America, I was listening to Freed from Desire on my AirPods when I was out running and stuff, and I was like, I really like that song, it's fucking real good. So I might walk out to that, because I walked out to the Bagpipes the first time when I was in London and it didn't really get a buzz. So I was like, you know what, I'm going to walk out to that. And what I was doing is I was putting my AirPods in, going down the elevator and walking down the hall, listening to that song, walking to the cage to go and spar Dustin, who I was shiting myself to spar, obviously #1 in the world. Took my AirPods out, put my gloves on, jumped in the cage. It was almost like walking out to the fight. So I was almost preempting it. And see, when it came to walking out and I heard that music, there was nothing changed. And I remember walking out and hearing everybody shouting and screaming, and I was just lapping it all up. And I think that was a really positive thing for me going into that fight. It was really, really good.
Yeah, so you almost reenacted the experience that you gave yourself that before. How many times did you do that?
Once a week. Yeah, once a week. Because I was sparring like Dustin, and then there was a couple of times I sparred Grant Dawson in the cage, and it would definitely be once a week. Well, maybe 2 times the other time, but it would only be for sparring when I was going into the cage. I would never spar. I would never listen to it if I wasn't going to spar in the cage. You had to book that anyway, so I kind of knew when it was going to happen.
Yeah. How would you describe your fighting style, and has it changed over time?
It has changed a wee bit recently. Obviously, the incentive for me to win recently has been massive for money, because for my first UFC fight against Omar, I was still working full time, so that was difficult financially. And now I've had 2 fights, I'm able to concentrate on only fighting. So there was a wee bit of pressure in that, and that kind of changed my way I was fighting, because I needed to get the win. Now I'm too deep. I'm a little bit easier, like if I took a loss it wouldn't really matter, but I'm gonna show everybody what I'm capable of this time. I'm gonna show my full skill set and take a little bit more risks, because I took 0 risks in my last fight. I was beating him up. I could have put it on him more. I could have stepped in, but that guy was super dangerous. He was undefeated, so I wanted to make sure I got the cash in my bank, because I need to provide for my family. That's a big thing, because like when you play rugby, you get your wage and that's it. You don't get,
there's no risk.
There's no risk to it. You're told this is your contract and that's it. It's a scary thing. Like imagine I couldn't pay my bills, I wouldn't be able to go to America.
I know. It's a different way of looking at it. You're a striker. Aren't you? You're an aggressive fighter. Is there a reason for that, or is that just the way you like fighting? Is it the natural way you like to fight?
I think that comes easy to me, yeah. I think as well, when it comes to striking, it's more a reaction. With grappling, there's more of a strategic feel to it. Hand-eye coordination for striking. I've got good timing. I say I was always good at maybe catching a ball, or I can catch things with hands, or I've just been good with my body, good body mechanics, and body mechanics equals power. So I'm after do you remember Big DJ Daniel Jackson? Did some sprinting with him, and once he fixed my body mechanics, my sprinting was just,
you get faster.
I was getting so much quicker, so much. Like I would say I got 30% quicker spending 5 weeks with him. Unbelievable. It was great.
I remember seeing that on Instagram. That wasn't that long ago, was it?
No, that was in COVID. I did that in COVID when I had more time. It was.
It's It is mental how you can tweak a few wee things there, and the output that you get is just much more than it was before.
Yeah.
And I remember, like, I keep talking about rugby and what it was like, but you did have that hand-eye coordination. You had that timing. You were able to get down low in that tackle, and like you're probably the best tackler we had in the team.
Yeah.
You know, so it makes sense that. I mean, I think if I was a fighter, I would probably have been a striker as well, because maybe similar to you, I've got probably a natural ability to have that coordination. It's not something I have to work on too much.
And also the confidence to be able to like take contact, and not to be scared of contact.
Yeah.
Like you see Finn Russell just now, he's not scared of contact.
No.
Smaller guy than 90% of the rugby players in the park, tackles like mad.
He does.
Brilliant.
Picks up boys 130 kegs.
He just dumps them on their head, eh?
He's like an elastic band.
I know. I whip it.
Like the other thing I want to talk about is your brand, your Instagram, your profile, how that's grown over time. Like, I remember seeing you, back in the day. This would have been 6 or 7 years ago now, where I could tell that you were making a conscious effort to post and document the journey that you were going on, which is brilliant. I think it's amazing. I think more people need to do it, and it's if you're not doing it, you're not making a smart decision.
No.
But over time, you look at your profile and how it's grown, and I think there's obviously a lot of things that will come into that. Your steps into the UFC, fighting professionally, and all that stuff starting to come now. But what's been your philosophy with the way that you've sort of built up your Instagram, your social media? Because you've actually done a really, really good job of it, and you're really authentic online.
Yeah. I think so. We'll use rugby and we'll use fighting as a kind of background on it. So when it comes to fighting, I don't get to fight every weekend. I don't get to practice like what you do in the field. So you train Monday to Friday, and you get to go and practice that on the weekend, and you get to do that every weekend. Whereas when it comes to fighting, I don't get to do that. So I needed to find an outlet, as a sense like if I don't get to do that, I need to like build another platform to make sure I can either, one, make money, two, show the world what it takes to become a fighter. Because when you don't get to train and, you don't get to fight at the weekend, or you don't get to play rugby at the weekend, you tend to try and be the best guy in the gym, and that's a wicked thing to have on your mind, because you end up like trying to knock people out in the gym. And so I tried to find this like other outlet what I could like brand myself. And like you said, we talked before, you don't get anything from it very early on. So when I was doing that, it was just kind of for myself, and I was giving myself a little bit of motivation to go post. And over time now, like I've got a jiu-jitsu competition this Saturday. I put a wee post up and listen, does anybody, any of their brand want to put their logo on my shirt, and I'll wear it to the event? Yeah, somebody's jumped on. So now it's kind of like a financial thing as well. And like I said, with you playing rugby every weekend, you got a chance to practice it, whereas with MMA I didn't. So I had to find something else to do at the weekends and figure out where my career's going to go. Like, imagine I didn't get like financial backing from sponsorships, I would be stuck. I'd be ruined. I need my sponsorships. I need them, so that was a driving factor for it as well, the financial part. But yeah,
who taught you about that, like, out of interest? Because you would have been in your early 20s, and obviously you could have learnt it yourself off YouTube or whatever, but was there somebody that was sort of in your ear saying, look, you need to start building your brand up here? Yeah,
I had Chris Crow. Do you remember Chris Crow? He owned MXP back in the day. Chris Crow, I remember I worked in EZ Sports, remember, at the top of Friar Street. He got me in there working for a wee while, and he's like, listen, you need to put up a bio. And I'm like, bio? What's a bio? So I wrote out this bio, and he's like, that's good, man. He's like, that's great, you can keep that. He told me to do that. He said, have you got Twitter? I was like, Twitter? What's Twitter? He's like, get Twitter, you can talk about it. Got Twitter. I called out Aaron Chalmers one time, and then I managed to get my shot in Bellator, so it all worked out in the end. Somebody was guiding me down the right direction, but he was more a kind of tech guy, he's involved in finance now, so like he had his own wee niche, so then he pushed that onto me, which now came good.
Yeah, it's all paid off. It's all looking great. Your Instagram, you're up at 25,000 followers or something now.
I don't even look. It's quite cool. Like, see, when it starts hitting, when it hit 10k, I was like, oh, this is good. This is good.
No, it's amazing, and this is just the start as well. Like, you've got so much more to come. So you're a dad. You've got your daughter Summer. She'll be coming up too now. She's grown up. I've been following that on Instagram. Looks like good fun. I seen you, you and her yesterday. She was talking to the camera, which was great to see. What? How's that changed your life, your perspective? Like, how do you go about? I mean, I'm coming into this. Like, I've got a kid coming at the end of January. But what's that been like for you?
At the very start, at the start, it was really difficult, kind of trying to adjust my life because they're so dependent on you. You know, you have to be there. You can't like not turn up. You know, like you say, for instance, you didn't want to go to training. You don't need to be there, but you need to be there for that. It added a new kind of feeling and emotion to MMA and how it, you know, with my MMA, I always carried my mum's fingerprint on my chain. You know, I always carry a chain. You've seen it in all my walkouts. I carry it with me. Now that's kind of changed a little bit. Now my daughter's fingerprint's on beside with my mum. It's made me like be more financially driven. It sounds a bit kind of like everybody's, oh, you don't do it for the money, but it is now. You know, I need to build a good life for her. I need to make sure she's safe. I need to make sure she's getting the best things. You know, I don't want her to have a life that I had. You know, so anything I can do to help her and buy her Christmas presents and stuff like that. But like, it's a hard thing to explain. I can't really explain like what has changed, but like the drive is mainly for her. It's like, right, I need to do this for her, and she keeps me strong. Like I'll FaceTime her and that when I'm away, and she'll say something stupid like, I've got a WhatsApp message on my phone. She's like, when she first started talking, she's like, I love you, daddy. And like, see stuff like that, mate. It melts my heart. It melts my heart. I've never cried so much in my life until my daughter was born. It's an incredible feeling. And when people say, you know, that they understand, they'll never understand. And you can relate back to this when you listen to it back and you've got your kid. It's more now that she's actually a wee person, but when she was a wee baby, it was, you know, it's a wee bit different because they're not doing much and they're not responding. And but now, mate, she's my wee best friend. It's great.
Yeah. What's your philosophy as a dad? What kind of parent are you? Like, what's the dynamic between you and your missus? How does that play out?
I'm the bad guy.
Right.
I'm told. So Chris, get her down from there, or tell her she can't have a chocolate biscuit, or. So I'm the bad guy, but I'm also the most fun. So like, I'll let her go and climb stuff and get her up the park, and she'll like climb on the roof at the house and help me put up Christmas decorations. When Laura's like trying to put a helmet on her, and I'm like, nah, just get her on the bike, she'll be fine. Or I'll let her in the front seat of the car sometimes and just driving to nursery. But yeah, but it's a good dynamic, and that's why I think it's very important to have a mum and a dad in a household, because you've got that dynamic, you know, the caring aspect from mum, and then the tough upbringing from the dad. You know, I was fighting with her the other day. I bought her first boxing gloves last night, and Laura's not happy.
Oh my God.
So yeah, it's a great dynamic, and all credit to my missus as well. You know, she's actually my fiance. I need to say fiance from now on, but all credit to her. She's just a bigger part of my career as she is of Summer's, and the dynamic between us two is really, really good, and I'm very fortunate to have met Laura. You know, I think it's important to find a female that's, you know, for you, you know, or you're for each other, you know. So
what sort of things have you learned over the years? Like, you've had a successful career that's on the up. You got a successful relationship, you got a kid. Like, what sort of things do you put emphasis on, and that you find are like important things that keep the relationship together? Like, because you guys have been together for a while.
Yeah, I'll be 6 years. 6 years on the 3rd of December there. So I don't really shout at her. Like, we don't have an argument as such. We'll maybe go to bed on it and wake up in the morning and talk about it. I've never really raised my voice. We have like wee squabbles back and forth and keep swearing at each other a wee bit back and forth, but it's more like off the cuff. It's not like, I fucking hate you in a bit. Definitely talk it out, and I say don't go to bed on like in a full blown argument, you know. But we love each other, and we know that, and I think Instagram and social media is a horrible platform to get relationship advice from. You know, you see all this stuff coming up. It's like, does your man do this for you? And it's like,
it's a load of shite, isn't it?
Oh,
most of it is a load of shite.
Jesus. we all know how uncomfortable your missus feels being pregnant right now.
Yeah.
She'll feel terrible. She maybe doesn't, but my missus was spewing, and it's not a good time for them, So you need to be there and understand that. Listen, maybe they're not feeling great. Maybe they don't want to go out and get dressed up and go to dinner with your pals. So maybe you just need to sit in with them at night. And it's a relationship. It's two people, so you both need to accommodate each other. Companionship.
It is. No, that's really cool to hear. So, like, moving forward into your future, like, what's coming next? You've obviously got your 2 fights that you've got to go in your current contract.
Yep.
Any sort of insight into where those could be, who you'll be fighting, and then what's coming after that? Like, how does the negotiation process work when you come to the end of a fight contract?
Okay, right. So hopefully we're looking at February. That could either be Mexico, it could either be America. There's a load of different things there. There's no names getting thrown about at the moment, but I've been told by my manager this could be the date. Get yourself ready. So that's me starting to gear up the training and the diet, and it's mainly the diet, to be fair. But so that's looking like I'll have Christmas at home, which I was scared about. I thought I was going to get Christmas at home, but we're going to get that. And the contract situation. So with my contract from the Contender Series, it's like an apprenticeship. So because I came through like kind of the shortcut way, my money wasn't as great as what people think. Good money. It's allowed me to become a full-time athlete, which is important. But after my 3rd fight, we can go to renegotiation period so that I can ask for better money. So better money takes the stress off family. I've been pushing for a fight because obviously I don't get paid mega bucks, so I'm like, right, I need another fight. Let's get the ball rolling. It's like I've always been keen to work, and I've never been unemployed in my life. So sitting doing nothing and twiddling my thumbs is quite annoying. So I'm looking. My manager Brian Butler, he'll speak to Sean Shelby and the matchmakers after this next fight. So it's very important that I put on a good performance, get a knockout, get a submission, get a finish. And then, that's sky's the limit for the money, because let's be honest, money is the driving factor now for, especially like I said, for the wee one. So it's a wicked game, because if you're in the UFC and you lose 2 in a row, you can get cut. They can actually cut you in one fight if they want to. They've got all the power in their hands, because it's a huge business and organisation.
It is. Where do you want to go long term? It's one of these questions where, like, you'll get people that can answer this and be like, oh, this is exactly where I want to go. I will struggle to answer it. But from your perspective, are you got any clarity in your mind as to what you're aiming for, or are you just kind of taking it one fight at a time?
Yeah. So remember I said to you, the goal on my phone to get to the UFC, that was my only goal. So I remember I was doing seminars when I came back from my fight, and I seen a shooting star in the sky. I was like, I usually make a wish when I do that. I'm like, how can I make a wish now? I've done it. So I had to think about myself. Not many people say they've accomplished their wishes. So I had to sit down and have a think. So my next goal is to get to the top 10. So it's not championship. I'm not getting the belt. It's get to the top 10, stay in the top 10, and then I can maybe say, maybe I'm close enough to get to the belt, Do it like a ladder, Don't say I'm going to be world champion and you've just 2 fights in the UFC. That's a stupid thing to do. So now the wish and the goal is to get to the top 10, maybe top 15, then top 10. Obviously, but it's quite close together. So that's the next goal, and make a good living from the UFC, because it's a hard game. Many people go into the UFC, fight 3 or 4 times, don't make much money, and then leave, and then start to make money. But I want to make money in the UFC because it's the biggest organisation in mixed martial arts, isn't it?
How long do you think you can keep fighting for? How's the body feeling? Are you feeling good?
Mate, I feel 18. I've had 0 injuries. 0. I've had none. I had torn retina in my left eye from the Charlie Campbell fight, but that was lasered, and it was like the guy said, I said, well, what do I do with that? He's like, just give yourself 10 days and you'll be good. I'm like, oh, cool. So I've had nothing. I have 0 injuries. The only thing I struggle with a little bit is my neck. I've got like a really stiff neck. But yeah, I feel I'm clever. I'm clever because punching to the head's not good. Maybe superficial, but I do take care of my body. I eat well all the time. So I think I've got another 8 years in me. I feel pretty good. And I've only been professional for 6 years, and I've been doing MMA since 2014. So it's not long. I was being professional for 5 years and get to the UFC is pretty good.
It is, man. Well, look, you're the ultimate professional in my eyes, and I've been fucking so pumped to see how your career's developed.
Thank you, man.
I look forward to seeing where it goes, but all the best, man.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. It's awesome, mate. Thank you very much.
Class, man. Cheers, bruv. Appreciate that. That was really good, man.
No, thank you.
Really good.